Yo, call me seductive the way your body's reductive. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are here to talk about voice acting in Sonic. The pros, the cons, the good and bad, what's come with it, you know, voice direction, everything, how much it has changed intensely and immensely throughout the entire franchise. And of course, if you want to see more topics like this, make sure to subscribe to your boy and let me know what else you'd like to see, because this is something, when I think about Sonic, is a big part of its history. In fact, it's always been fascinating that Sonic is one of the, I would say, of the mascot platformers, the one that talks the most. You know, you obviously have your PlayStation ones, like your Sly Coopers and your Jack and Daxes who have talked, but Sonic is a much more long-running series. And even back in the 90s, when, you know, he was like a little sprite, they were aiming for Sonic to have a personality, right? They had him talking in The Adventures of Sonic, where he was voiced by Jaleel White.
I don't bust through that force field, Robotnik will put him around every factory. Not to worry, been practicing, Unc. Gotta do it to it. See ya.
It was much more cartoony, and you can see right away that it's a much more like, hey, what's going on there, guys? What's going on, Tails? Like, and that worked for the 90s, right? That was sort of, you know, the 90s, and I think it was a good voice direction at the time, but maybe as the character evolved, it wasn't necessarily the best way to go about it, right? Because then you sort of enter the Dreamcast adventure era, where you get a different voice cast, what I would say like the first voice cast for the games, and that is the adventure era. So you get, you know, your Ryan Drummond as Sonic, Dean Bristow as Dr. Eggman at the time. You had a distinct voice cast that didn't actually live really a long time in the spotlight, right? You're talking about characters that maybe lasted 2 games with an Adventure 1, 2, and Sonic Heroes, but they were at the time a mix of that sort of 90s cartoony style, but you could tell a bit more of that modernism just because there was a bit more story going on at the time, right? And especially when you think of Ryan Drummond Sonic, people talk about it a lot in the echelon. I also, when I think of Ryan Drummond Sonic, I don't know, it's nostalgic to me. He definitely has that energy, right? You can hear like a voice of it right here.
Ha! Think I'd miss this? Time to crack that Eggman wide open! Yeah, let's party! Okay then, let's get ready to do this. We'll show that creep the real superpower of teamwork!
There are obviously some really iconic lines in there, but I do think for the most part, the cast was pretty solid back in the day, right? And obviously there was some concerns again, like I think Tails sounding like a genuine like toddler wasn't the best thing, but at the time, you know, it made sense. You know, they were kids growing up, and if anything, I feel like that voice cast ages better because it feels like that was what the characters sounded like when they were younger, right? You know, especially Amy. I think Amy's voice fit really well at the time. Knuckles especially, I think Knuckles' voice actor is really, really good. I like the very serious tone, like, it's me, Knuckles. I have to protect the Master Emerald. What's going on down there? Like, it was a very cool, like, distinct, relaxed voice. I always think in particular in Pumpkin Hill, you know, when he starts his dialogue there, where he's just like, there's something about that voice cast from the late 90s, early 2000s that really hit well. And I think about, right, if they were to be what they are today, right, would it work the same way? I don't know. I'm sure they would find a way to make it work, but what's always been fascinating about Sonic as a series is it's not really a series where they've kept the same cast. They've swapped a lot, you know, genuinely, like so much character swapping has happened throughout the season. Different characters, you know, different interpretations of the characters have been voiced by different people, but you get to what later in the 2000s where I think you get what a lot of people consider the definitive cast of Sonic, and that is the Sonic X voice acting group, you know, where you get Lisa Ortiz as Amy, Mike Pollock's Eggman, you have the most notable Jason Griffith as Sonic the Hedgehog, and I would even say Dan Green as Knuckles, right? And even Jason Griffith's voice Shadow the Hedgehog too. And I think a lot of people consider these guys the definitive voice actors, not only because they had a really long run. I mean, they had Sonic X, right? They had actually Sonic 06. Funny enough, they had Sonic in the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic Unleashed at the time. They had like a lot of mainline games in their lineup of stuff to voice act, and they got a decent amount of time to shine, right? But I think we're genuinely awesome. This was part of the 4Kids era, and what was funny about these guys, yeah, they were acting for the anime and of course the games at the time, and man, this run of the voice acting crew, I still think as a full cast of voice actors and voice direction, really, really fucking awesome. Like, listen to this really quickly.
I am Percival, Knight of the Round Table, servant of King Arthur. State and your master, sir.
I'm Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog. I have no master, except the wind that blows free.
Very well, Sonic, Knight of the Wind. Prepare for battle.
Bring it on!
You can tell like the voice direction even is changing. I think this is a really important part about voice direction and keeping someone as a voice actor, because I feel like the Ryan Drummond group and all that, I feel like they didn't really have time to change as a voice actors. I think they did a lot of good stuff. You know, I think they were very good at what they did, but they didn't get to really evolve too much. Whereas I feel like with the Sonic X, you know, Jason Griffith and all these people with your Dan Greens, I feel like they had a chance to evolve and really spread their wings because they had a lot of good source material to go with too. Obviously, there was some bad stuff at that time, right? But you can tell the cast was really trying. Jason Griffith is voicing Shadow the Hedgehog as well, and I think he did an incredible job voicing both Sonic and Shadow. I don't even know how he did it. Like, I've actually met the guy, very nice person. I think Dan Green's Knuckles is probably still the best interpretation of Knuckles we've got. I think he has the right sense of aggression. You know, it sounds like Yami Yugi, which is really funny, but I think he's incredible. The voice of Rouge the Bat at the time was fantastic. Tails, really good. But I will say, and I think a lot of people know this, the Sonic X cast of Sonic and, you know, that era of games was really incredible. And I think it is paired with the fact that, like I said, there was at the time where the games were still heading into crazy highs in terms of what they were trying to do. But then we received what I would call the modern Sonic group, which has voiced this cast for a long time, and that is, yeah, the modern Sonic voice cast. And this is sort of when we get into the territory where things are swapping around a lot more. Roger Craig Smith voicing Sonic the Hedgehog, right? This is a big change. This is a big moment. He's been voicing the characters now for 14 years, right? And again, another person where you can see the evolution, right? Think of a line, you know, that you see from Sonic Colors. Like, listen to this right here.
He loves to hear his own lips flap, but I gotta hand it to the Eggster. This place is epic. Everyone and their brother is gonna want to come here, cause Eggman plus secretly built amusement park equals evil plot for us to foil. Lucky for us, he's not very good at keeping things hidden.
And then listen to a moment in Sonic Frontiers.
Parts of this island are really lovely. I should bring Cream here sometime. I bet Tangle would love climbing around these ruins. That is some heavy firepower. Omega would be jealous. I bet Zavok would feel right at home here. Wonder how he's doing. Terrible, I hope. Amy, Cream will never forgive me if I don't bring you back.
You're talking about an actor that has been changed a lot due to a big voice direction. Now, let's talk about the big elephant in the room is this cast, right? The modern cast. Why I think they face so much backlash is they had really unfortunate timing. This cast joined in when Sonic's writing was starting to be at a more all-time low cartoony style, right? We got Sonic Colors, we got Sonic Generations, we got Sonic Boom, we got Sonic Forces, and we got Sonic Lost World. That is 6 games, not counting stuff like spin-offs and you know, the show Sonic Boom. That is 6 things right there, major projects that all had writing that wasn't the best. We're talking about a cast that was just given no direction. It feels like the cast was told, like, all right, for Sonic, be cartoony, right? For Tails, like a silly person, right? For Knuckles, act like a knucklehead. And I think a big problem with not giving characters voice direction is you get, you know, lame moments with these characters, right? And so I don't think it was ever the voice's fault. I think it was the direction, right? Think of Rouge the Bat in Sonic Dream Team, how she sounds. I want you to listen to this clip.
Way to show up these amateurs. Sure, but he's such a brute. No class or tact at all.
And then listen to a clip of her talking in the recent Sonic Shadow Dark Beginnings.
Now about this spacecraft. I can take you to a ship, but in return you're going to have to promise to come to Sonic's birthday party. I'll take that as a yes. Now then, interested in raiding a gun base?
And to me, that it is night and day because it's the same actor, but there's direction given to them. You know, they are told, like, hey, you can tell Shadow Dark Begins, like, hey, we want you to play Rouge, a little sassy, a little confident. In Dream Team, you could kind of tell Rouge was just kind of voicing the character, you know, all willy-nilly, no care. And I think that was a big thing that happened with the cast for a long time, because they were sort of put into a position where they were voicing silly games. Well, you're gonna get a silly voice direction until you get to the modern times of Sonic Frontiers, where, oh, you're starting to see this voice cast lock the fuck in. I think Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails is actually the definitive version of that character, to the point where she made it into the movies as the voice of Tails, and I think she does an incredible job voicing the character. I think of all the cast, she is I think the best version of Tails, to be frankly honest. I think she does an incredible job. And of course, as much as you like him or dislike him as an actor, obviously he's got his issues. Mike Pollock's Eggman is an incredible voice direction no matter what. If anything, I would say the most consistent voice in the entire series is probably Dr. Eggman's as Mike Pollock. I think that voice direction is pretty perfect for the most part. We could all agree Dr. Eggman's voice is something everybody can hear in their head in any way, shape, or form. And I think that voice casting was always probably for the best. When it comes to Amy, I think of Cindy Robinson, and I think she does that problem where Amy, again, I think this comes with direction, what Amy's character is doing. It's a bit more of that, you know, calm, right? Whereas we used to have an Amy that was much more over the top and bubbly and fun, and that worked a lot for the character at the time, right? But again, where Amy's character is doesn't necessarily lend itself to that more fun style. But I do hope we get to that point. You know, I do hope Cindy Robinson gets her time to shine as Amy's voice actress, you know, in order to do more crazy fun stuff, because I think Amy's a character that deserves to be fun and also cool at the same time. I love Amy, I've always said that. But yeah, I think when it comes to the cast, they're starting to see a bit better performance because of the direction. Again, I think of Kirk Thornton's Shadow as the number one. For the longest time, so many people, including myself, hated him voicing Shadow because it was just try hard edgy. Whereas, you know, he had that moment, I remember, where he was talking about like, wow, I actually got to learn about Shadow's backstory, and they gave me a new direction. I was able to change the tone of how I do it. Now listen to him, like, listen to this Shadow.
Shadow? Are you alright?
Maria, I'm fine. It's just... the professor created me using alien DNA. The Black Arms, he called them. The same DNA as this larva. This ugly, heartless creature. I may look like a hedgehog, but I'm really no different than this thing. Stop that. That life was taken from me long ago. I need to focus on the mission at hand.
That is a completely different voice to me, in my opinion. You know, I think that's someone that is now, I'm hearing, I'm like, damn, bro, this is kind of heading into definitive Shadow territory for me. I think this is an incredible job for the character and for the voice style they're going with. I'm really happy with what they've done with Kirk, and it really goes to show you how far voice direction can go, and also how you voicing a character for a long time is important. I think it's important to stay with the cast for a while, just so they get used to the character a bit more. They grow up with the characters. They get used to, you know, the mannerisms and moments these characters have. Like, I think it is important to have a relationship with these voice actors. That's why it's funny when we get one-offs like the Sonic Prime cast as voice actors, because Sonic Prime has a completely different cast. It's a Canadian cast, and you have Devin Mack as these characters, Ian Hanlon as Shadow, which he does an incredible job. We have Ashley Ball as Tails as Nine. You have Adam Narada as Knuckles, Cosme Evans as Rouge. There's a lot of characters that are voiced in the show, but I gotta say, man, the Sonic Prime voice cast, awesome cast of characters. I think their voice acting is incredible, but again, they had a plot that was a little bit more silly, where they weren't able to really flesh out their voice acting process. I do think, though, Ian Hand's Shadow, incredible job in that show. Like, you could just hear how he voiced the character was sort of like a bit more confident, you know, not necessarily edgy, but just a bit more serious. He did a really good job voicing Shadow. I think of even, you know, Devin Max Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's really good, man. It's really good. It evokes teenager feel for the character, you know, a bit more silly, a bit more fun, but I'm sure if he had to lock the fuck in, he would do it. You know, I think that's a voice direction that could continue and evolve, and I do hope the Sonic Prime cast gets to do some other project, because I really think they did a great job. And even if they didn't, I would honestly be happy with them being a one-off cast, but I just want to give them their flowers because they did really good job on that show. And of course, as you guys are watching, let me know definitively what is your favorite cast and era of Sonic characters, and also let me know what is your favorite voice for the Sonic characters in general. Like, who's your favorite voice actor? Who's your favorite voice of the series? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, funny enough, we also have a different group, and that is the movie cast. That's right, the Sonic movies have a different set of voice actors, except for Tails. We have Ben Schwartz as Sonic the Hedgehog, which is a big different change for the character. A bit more of a silly tone. I think he does a good job of mixing the silliness of Sonic with locking in. It's definitely a different tone for the character, and when I hear that song, I'm like, okay, that's not video game Sonic, that's movie Sonic. He's a teenager, a bit more silly, and you can tell in general from this video, me talking about it, there's a lot of times where they want Sonic to be different. And of course, dude, I think of Idris Elba's Knuckles, and I think his performance as Knuckles is incredible. I love the sort of more confident Knuckles that goes into it. With the movies, he's locked the fuck in. I love that for him. And obviously, we're about to have Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog, which is still a surreal thing to even talk about, and he sounds like he's gonna do an incredible job. And all this to say, I have always said I like that Sonic is a series that with different interpretations you get different voices, much like Spider-Man. You know, you don't think of Spider-Man as one definitive voice. There are definitive actors for Spider-Man that you think of, there's moments, but I think every character and interpretation of the characters has had their own flavor. Like I said, in the 90s you get a more cartoony Sonic, right? Now in the late 90s, early 2000s of the adventure series, you're getting a bit more, you know, it's sort of like the characters are growing up with you. They're sort of in like their 13, 14-year-old phase of the characters. You get the modern cast, which I think they were held back by the writing, but nowadays you can tell it's almost like the characters are growing up, you know, with how their voice, right? And then you get movie, which is a different flavor, and you know, TV shows with Prime, there's different flavors of the characters and different voices you can attribute. I do like, though, for as many problems people have with the modern cast, I'm glad they kept them, because I'm so happy right now seeing how they're evolving and changing as they're going. You know, I want to see, well, how is Roger Craig Smith gonna voice Sonic now that, you know, it's not and maybe the next game isn't like a crazy looming threat, and maybe he's a bit more confident with that deeper voice. How does that sound, right? Or you have right now, we're about to have Shadow Gens with Kirk Thornton, how he's gonna sound in his moments, you know, beyond trailers and stuff we've seen. Like, I can't wait to really see how much more they can flesh out these characters' voices and evolve them and make them go through moments with these characters that are a bit more harsh and difficult. And maybe one day we're gonna have an entirely new recast. I'd love to know what you guys think would be a great future voice actor for these characters, because for me, it's always difficult to think about, and I hope we get some cool voices, but I'm glad for now that we have this cast evolving and growing up, because these are starting to become, for me even, a lot of the ways the definitive voices of these characters. But guys, let me know, of course, what you think in the comments section below. I love you. Thank you all for watching. You're the best. And of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out.